2, 1, 0. Activating air loss disposal. Voice authorization required.
Intergalactic Radio with your host, Giovanni Stico.
Accepted.
I'd just like to let everybody know this is Giovanni with Intergalactic Radio. Today we have the wonderful Scott Schiaffo from the movie Clerks, Mr. Julius Gum Guy. And I've been trying to have Scott on my show for a while. Okay, we're going to give Scott a call right now, so let me call his number.
Hello.
How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing really well, brother. Thanks
Good,
for having me.
good. How's your health? Doing better?
Yeah, no, I'm really solid. I'm thankful. I got a great cardiologist, and I got a great partner in life to help me through. I'm doing really well. Thanks. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're doing well and you're staying busy and stuff like that. So we're gonna dive right in though. We're gonna do about an hour show if that's okay with you, Scott.
Great.
So anyway, Scott. So for those that don't know about Clerks, we're going to go back to the basics. We're going to go back to the beginning because the beginning has so much to do with what is relevant to today. You know, and
Sure.
And for those, I actually told some people about you. I was in a meeting for a comic book I'm doing, and I told them, "Oh my God, you're interviewing the Julius Gum Guy." Like, oh my God, you were so lucky. And so you know, I want to get right into this though. Let's talk about. First of all, how did you find out about the gig, and how did you get the gig for the movie Clerks?
Well, it was funny because there's sort of like folklore behind the film that the myth of the movie is everybody thought for years that the people in the cast were either friends of Kevin's or his family, but that's simply not true. There's a number of us who were just actors who saw an audition notice, and we auditioned.
Right.
Brian O'Halloran, who played Dante, he didn't know Kevin. Marilyn Gigliotti, she played Veronica, she didn't know Kevin. Lisa Spoonhour, rest her soul, she played Caitlin, she didn't know Kevin.
Right.
And I didn't know Kevin. I was just an actor who saw an audition notice, and I lived about an hour and a half away from those guys. I'm northern Jersey, they're South Jersey. So I saw an audition notice in the paper, and I answered that, and I drove an hour and a half down there to do my audition, which was a prepared monologue, and if they liked you, they called you back.
Right. And so this was now, if I'm not mistaken, was this shot in '93?
I do believe, because some of the details are a little fuzzy, but I think the film was released in '94.
Okay.
So it was definitely shot during early '93, maybe even late '92 into '93.
Right.
But the details are a little fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure it was, it was a solid year, at least before it was released. He had, he didn't get any action on the film until he played the New York Festival.
Right. And now let me ask you a question though. What kind of before you did this movie? What kind of gigs were you doing? Were you theatrical? Were you doing stuff on plays? Or were you doing commercials? Or this is something your major breakthrough? Or
well, as far as film work, it was a major breakthrough for all of us. But
yeah.
I had been a musician. I still am. I was a musician all throughout my teen years and 20s, and all throughout college, playing in bands and doing studio work. And towards the end of my 20s, I decided to give the acting thing another real strong go. I did it in college, mostly community theater, but I decided I was going to push myself as a character actor, and I got out there, and lucky for me, Clerks was one of the first things that I had been in 2 other independent films before Clerks that never got released.
Right. Yeah, there was. I believe there was. Clerks was not the. I believe it wasn't the first of the kind of Clerks thing. There was something else. I'm not sure that had some affiliation with it. I'm not sure. I could be wrong though. And so when you auditioned though, was it an immediate like, well, okay, we're going to hire you? Or were there other people that had auditioned for your part?
No. Well, what happened was at the first audition, there were 2 nights.
Yeah.
And at the first set of auditions, you did a prepared monologue,
Yeah.
and if they liked you, they called you back. You did a prepared piece. You didn't read from the script.
Right.
If they liked you, then you read from the script. So going in, none of us really knew anything about the script because we were all doing prepared pieces.
Right. And it's funny that you're. I had a sense of feeling that there was a lot of improv going on. Was there a lot of improv going on in that film?
No, it's actually quite the opposite.
Really?
There was like zero improv. Every word, with the exception of maybe one or two things, was carefully scripted. Kevin, over the years began to loosen up more, and he would allow the actors to do some takes where they would do some improvisation. But Clerks is literally word for word, just about exactly how it was written.
Right. And you, it's funny, you have such an iconic role. Everybody knows your character. I meant your character's like the guy you want to love, even though he's kind of annoying, It's
actually it's a shock to me.
Yeah.
It's a shock to me because he really is kind of a jerk off.
I know
he's not a likable character.
No, not at
but
all.
The fact that the fans are very kind and they like, I guess, when they get to know me as a person and as an actor, they've all been very kind. But the character is pretty much a jerk off.
Yeah, pretty much. And the funny thing about it was that you were like the first. I mean, you were the first character outside of Brian O'Halloran to come in. You were the second scene. You were like the first. That was like huge. I mean, you actually came before Veronica did in the movie. And now, how long was that take that you did? How long was that? How long did you film that?
Well, that's a good point that you bring up. In fact, it's funny in convention Q&As over the last couple of years, somebody had pointed out to me, and it's not that I didn't really know that, but when you look at Kevin Smith's universe, all the films he's done and how all the characters sort of all intermingle throughout the different scripts, because he created an entire world.
Yeah.
The very I don't know, I'm hearing a tremendous amount of feedback. Are you hearing me clearly?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great, because I hear like feedback. Somebody had pointed out to me, they said, it's pretty interesting that out of all the characters of the Viewisk universe, the first two that we ever get to meet are basically, it's Dante's dog, and then the Chewie's gum guy.
That's right.
And when I looked at it from that way of looking at it, it really is a pretty amazing, distinction. But it was a really, if you didn't get one of the leading roles in that movie, the Chewie's guy really was the cherry role to get, because it was written to really stand out. It was supposed to really stand out and kind of happen soon so that people got an idea of the type of movie they were going to be seeing.
Absolutely.
It was all contrived in the sense of, it was written to be bombastic, and unless the actor was really terrible, you were going to stand out in that role.
Absolutely, though. And your part was like, and I noticed like all the main characters, they all had their iconic one-liners. And I think that and I think you had a little more than just, Dante had his, Veronica had hers, you had yours. What is the most common catchphrase that people come up to you and say to you?
Well, if it's the fans who are talking about my character, the one line they usually repeat or think is the funniest is, and it's almost like a throwback to the Honeymooners.
Yeah.
Ralph Brandon. It's, I'm a disturbance, you're the disturbance, pal. I hear that one a lot. But, as far as lines from the movie, of course, the most iconic is I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Of course.
And of course, the number 37.
Number 30, of course. And I when I interviewed Marilyn, I was like almost like kind of like because it referred to a derogatory term, But she's so
Right.
she's so used to it though that it doesn't even faze her anymore. It's just like it's kind of like embedded in everything like that though. And so there's a couple other lines in there that I can't recall. I mean, I've seen Clerks like maybe 30 times. I was like a
Yeah, it's
total
one of those
junkie.
films a lot of people have. Sure,
It never-
like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, it's just like great. And your character's so funny because you bring that lung with you. Or is it like an artificial lung?
Yeah, no, that was what the shame is that because he was on such a limited budget.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a lot of leeway in getting what you would call coverage.
Yeah.
Which now with digital they could shoot all day long and they don't have to worry about running out of film or paying for film.
Yeah.
But that was shot on film, and film's very expensive.
Yeah.
So he didn't have the luxury of a lot of different takes.
Yeah.
So it's a shame they never got a close-up of that lung.
Yeah.
Because he put a lot of work into creating it.
Uh-huh.
It was a piece of, Jesus, I've talked about this a million times, and a lot of times I forget the name of what. Haggis. It was a piece of haggis wrapped around a styrofoam ball, and they snuffed out cigarettes in it, and they put filth and dirt all over it. I mean, it really was disgusting and gross.
Right,
but
right.
you couldn't see it. They never got a good shot of it.
Right, because it did look like a lung though, and then you had a trait ring or something like that in there. You had that in there.
Right, the trait ring I still have, yeah.
Wow, I mean, now let me ask you another question, then we're going to talk about some other stuff here. But how was it working on the set, though? Was it an enjoyment? Was Kevin a stickler? Was he easy to work with? Did you get along well with the other cast members? And how was it working on the set of Clerks?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it's a little bit of a mix of all those things. He was a stickler only in that he was really. And we were all committed to the project at hand, and you couldn't afford to screw around too much and screw up, because unlike today, where you could shoot a movie on your phone and not have to pay for film, film is expensive and it's limited.
Yes.
And it has to be lit properly, and you have to have your sound man. I mean, it wasn't, there was a lot to what you had to do, and he was very limited. So I think the most you got was 2 or 3 takes tops.
Yeah.
And the gum guy stuff is 2 very long takes. In fact,
it is.
To really appreciate the Chuli's gum guy scene, you have to watch the uncut version that they released on the anniversary DVD box set. The director's cut of the movie has the uncut Chuli scene, which is a few minutes longer than what's in the Miramax version.
And was that the 25th anniversary limited edition?
I don't know if it's 25. That was the 21st. The one came out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And originally it came out as the Xbox.
Right.
It was DVD.
Right.
It was Clerks Xbox. It was 10 years, and they put a bunch of extras on, and it's got the uncut version.
Right.
But on my YouTube, I have the uncut Chuli scenes on my YouTube.
Yeah. What is your YouTube page name?
It's just my name. It's my name in YouTube.
Schiaffo.
If you YouTube search me if you search my name on YouTube, that all comes up. My channel is just my name. But it was always a shame that they didn't get a good shot of that lung. But no, as far as how it was, Kevin was easy to work with, but he was also a stickler because he really wanted us to stick very close to the script. Like I said, there was no improvising.
Yes.
He wanted it word for word,
right.
And he knew how it should sound in his head.
Right.
So he was a stickler, but he was also fun to work with because he was such a funny, creative guy. And Brian O'Halloran really set the tone for the professionalism on the set.
Really?
For me. I didn't know Brian at all at the time.
Right.
And we didn't necessarily become friends early on.
Yes.
It was more business than it was a friendship early on.
Right.
I'm very good friends with him now.
Right.
But he set the tone for the professionalism, at least for me, on the set.
Yeah, you want to hear something funny? At the time of when I first saw that movie, I was living in a country called Sri Lanka.
Wow.
And I went to a video store, and I found your guys' movie in a video store in Sri Lanka on VHS.
That's crazy.
And I watched that movie over and over and over because it was such a unique story. and that kind of thing, though. But this film now, when this film was released, though, I mean, did you guys all go to the premieres, and were you a part of that whole clique, like almost like, back in the 80s, they had a thing called there was the Brat Pack. Were you guys always together when at a lot of time for these screenings, or?
Well, no. The answer to that for me is a twofold, and I'll try to keep it concise.
Yeah.
Like I said, I lived in northern New Jersey, like 10 minutes outside of New York City.
Yeah.
All of those guys were from down South Jersey, and Brian at the time was in New Brunswick, New Jersey. But I was the farthest away as far as geographics.
Right.
So even though I was invited to some things early, I didn't go to one of the screenings down. There was a cast party down in their area that I had missed.
Right.
And then when the film came out and was released, I actually got into a lot of trouble in my personal life with alcohol and drugs, and I landed in a rehab the week that it was premiering in New York City. So I missed that premiere because I was stuck in a rehab in Pennsylvania. So that was pretty much a bummer. But no, we weren't. It wasn't really a tight clique the first, say, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, right.
But it's become very tight in the last 10, 15 years.
Right. And now to talk about something else, I noticed you had a book that came out not too long ago. You want to tell us about that book that you wrote now, so that people can maybe check it out, go on Amazon. Now, it's on Amazon, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the printed book is out a while now. The audio book came out during COVID.
Okay.
It's called, again, if you were to do any Google search or Amazon search or YouTube search just with my name, all of this stuff does come back. But it's called Vicious Dogs Attack Me in Sleepless Nights of Summer. And it's a collection of poems and short stories from like 1984, 85 to roughly 1996.
Wow.
During the worst years of my alcohol and drug addiction, I would write down little poems and little remembrances of what I did under the influence, and I never thought I would get it all released. I got to tell you, but it's hard to really speak because I'm hearing a tremendous amount of feedback. You don't hear that?
No, I don't. I don't know why I don't hear anything. I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure.
Are you just hearing me clear? You hear me clearly?
I hear you crystal clear.
That's wonderful because I'm hearing all kind of crazy stuff as I speak, but I'll try to ignore it. It's really loud.
I'm so sorry.
It sounds like some kind of feedback. I don't know. All right, as long as you can hear me.
I can hear you. Now.
The book is called Vicious Dogs Attack Me in Sleepless Nights of Summer. It's available on Amazon. It's loosely based on my experiences as a very active, very self-destructive alcoholic and drug addict for about 10, 15 years. And I did the audio book over COVID. That's out on Audible.
Right. And for those that are recovering, that maybe still kind of involved in that type of destructive lifestyle, though, would you have any suggestions to anybody out there that may be having substance abuse? What are the acts of which they can take to try to conquer the beast on this thing?
Well, it's very personal, and at the same time, most alcoholics and addicts, and I have a long history of dealing with my own addiction on and off because it took me a very long time before I finally sobered up. This 4th of July, I'll be sober from alcohol 15 years, but I'm also almost 60 years old. So I drank well into my 40s. I was actively alcoholic and drug addicted well into my 40s. And what happened with me, I had been through a million rehabs. I was really, in a lot of people's minds, even in my own mind, a lost cause. I really thought I would die from it. But I ended up with some severe health problems. And I almost don't take too much initial credit for sobering up in the beginning because I was, from 2006 to 2009, 2010, I was literally like a full-time heart patient. I had tremendous heart problems. I was having operations, procedures. I have an ICD implant, which is like a pacemaker,
Right.
but it also delivers a shock to your body if your body goes into a very bad arrhythmia, because I developed a horrific arrhythmia, and I had abused alcohol and cocaine and crack and heroin and
Wow.
everything under the sun for many years.
Wow.
So initially, I was like a full-time heart patient, and there just was no room for that anymore for the first couple of years. It was like I was removed from the real world almost, and I was frightened to death too.
I can imagine.
But I literally, after about 3 years of being this full-time heart patient, and my heart slowly was thankfully getting better, and I was becoming more stable, I had realized that, oh my gosh, this is the longest ever in my adult life.
Right.
I haven't taken a drink, but more importantly, I didn't want it anymore, which was a type of freedom I never thought
Right.
I would ever have, because I would sober up on occasion, but I was miserable without alcohol and drugs. I hated being sober. I looked at the world in a very bitter way,
Right.
because other people could drink and I couldn't.
Right.
It was a horrible scenario, and my heart breaks for
Yeah.
people who go through it, and I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
So I think whatever stops you long enough for you to get a grip, a lot of people have to go inpatient to just get out of the cycle of addiction they're in.
Right.
You go through detox. You go to an inpatient if you can,
Right.
because nowadays I know insurance isn't like it was in the old days. Those 3-week and 4-week rehabs, like they used to have them, they're harder to find.
Yeah.
But if you could just get a little clarity, you now have the power to make a decision.
Absolutely.
If you want to, one day at a time, not use alcohol and drugs and just continue to sober up. It's
Absolutely.
heartbreaking, and I feel blessed that it happened in the way that it happened, because I had given up on myself, in all honesty. I didn't think I would have. I thought I would die from it.
Right.
I really did. And I got very fortunate. Congestive heart failure was the best thing that ever happened to me. It really, I mean, it was horrible because it's a serious heart condition I have now,
Right.
and I have to watch, but I'm doing really well.
Right.
But it really sobered me up in a way that is very substantial. I no longer crave the alcohol like I used to. I don't miss it,
Right.
which is it's such a freedom. I really wish I could wave a wand, and anybody who does suffer could just not want it anymore and walk away from it. Because it's a horrible, debilitating thing, and it ruins a lot of people's lives, and it hurts a lot of people. It hurts family, friends. Alcoholism and drug addiction is like an epidemic,
Absolutely.
and people just get judged.
Yep.
They don't really get seen as it's a sickness,
Yeah.
and people just write them off as, they're doing this to themselves and they should know better, and, they're just weak people, and nothing could be further from the truth, really.
Yeah, and so you obviously were a hard drinker. I mean, you were drinking like the really bad stuff, like the vodkas and just anything, huh? Just bad booze.
Oh, I was a blackout alcoholic.
Oh, wow.
I would start drinking on Tuesday, and the next thing you know, it's 5 or 6 days later, and I'm coming to either in a hospital or I came to in different. I live in New Jersey. I came to in Pennsylvania. That's how I missed the Clerks premiere. I went on a long drinking and drug binge.
Wow.
And after about 6 or 7 days, when I finally came to, they stuck me in a detox center in Pennsylvania. I couldn't even get home. I didn't have a car.
Wow.
I had nothing. I was in another state.
Wow.
And I actually was. I left the program a couple of times, and I was going to hitchhike home because I didn't want to miss the Clerks premiere.
Yeah.
But I spoke to Kevin and Scott Mosier on the phone from the rehab.
Yeah.
And they said, listen, dude, do what you got to do. Stay there. Your part in the movie is set. You're here even though you're not really here. And, yeah, it kind of sucks. But get yourself straightened out. Stay in the rehab.
Right.
Don't come running back to the screening.
Yeah.
Stay, sober up. They were very, very understanding young men. I got to give them that. Because I got about 7-8 years on those guys. They're about 7-8 years younger than I am.
Right. Yeah, and that was so nice I think that Kevin has always been, he's definitely ahead of his time. He was, much more mature than his actual age was. You know what I'm saying? Very some of the words, like, I couldn't even understand some of the words that were used in the film. I'm like, what does that word mean? You know?
Oh no, listen, you're absolutely right, and I say this whenever I get the chance to, whether it's in Q&As or interviews. One of the things about Kevin that impressed me immediately when I met him in person and got to know him after they gave me the role was not only how funny he was, but how wise beyond his years he was, and what an amazing knowledge and control of language he had. He's a real wordsmith.
Oh, he was like very, very, very articulate though, and he was very his humor was more expressed not through himself but through film and through that avenue. I mean, he says things that are funny, but it's more projected. His humor is more projected on film through conceptual ideas with using other actors or whatever. He's just an amazing talent. And I had chatted with Kevin. I did some artwork of it. Remember, I did the artwork of you as a Jedi and Kevin and stuff like that. And in fact, he appreciated the artwork. So did Jay and stuff. And my point being is that they identify and appreciate what great talent is and art. And I tell you, Kevin wouldn't have made it without you guys. You guys were what made the movie what it was. It really was. And
I'll tell you that's a very. I really appreciate that. That's a really sweet thing to say. And on many levels, I agree. It was the sum of the parts, but I'll tell you the writing it was really far. The funny part about, I think what struck a lot of people about Clerks was here were these, and this is that generation too. That generation was the first generation, Generation X. They were now overeducated and underemployed. So you had these two guys who were really intelligent and had these really articulate, well thought out arguments. But they're jockeying a convenience store cash register.
Absolutely.
And that was part of the joke. And it was so well crafted and so well written. And it's also, Kevin had written a number of other things before he had even written Clerks, but Clerks was the most inexpensive to shoot. He already had Dogma, like a version of Dogma written already.
Yeah, he did. He had that.
He's a young guy.
Yeah, I mean, he did something before Clerks that it was a black and white film, and Jay was in it. I don't know the name of that film though. It was made before Clerks. I didn't even know that he made a movie before Clerks.
I don't know. I'm not aware of that. I'm really not aware of it at all.
Jay's in it and some other ones, and this was shot before Clerks. I didn't even know about it. But the thing was I read about the story, the backstory, how he worked there. Correct? He worked at the.
He worked at that. Yeah, he worked at that store during the day, and then when they shut down at night, we shot all night long. Yes,
and the smart thing about it was you would never know if it was night or day. What they did was they shot it and they made it in black and white, so you couldn't tell a lot of times if it was day or night.
Well, also there's another reason for that. That's why some idiot stuck gum in the shutter locks, and they couldn't open the shutters.
Yeah.
So you couldn't tell if it was day or night. That was why the whole joke about Dante not being able to open up the shutters because somebody stuck gum in the locks.
Yeah.
So you can't see if it's day or night from within the store.
Exactly, and that's the thing about it. Now the big question is my thing is that will your character be brought back in Clerks 3? Or is it secret?
The God's honest truth is I don't know how he's doing it. What he is doing and what he has shared is that I believe, and this has become public knowledge, so I'm not really saying anything he hasn't.
Right.
I believe Dante and Randall has a heart attack, just like Kevin did.
Yeah.
And he wants to realize a lifelong thing which was he sat around and talked about movies all his life.
Right.
He wants to make one.
Right.
So now those guys are going to go and shoot the movie Clerks.
Oh.
So, right. So now there is the ability to possibly bring back a lot of the old people, either as themselves, or even if they brought them back as the actors that played those parts.
Right.
See, now the story is sort of becoming so meta that it's going in one big circle. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and the funny thing, it's almost like a movie within a movie about it. It's funny. And I don't know what the issue was with Randall, why he didn't want to come back again. But has it been confirmed he is coming back to Clerks 3?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, thank God.
See, this Clerks 3 is a very different Clerks 3 than the Clerks 3 that was going to be done before Kevin's heart attack.
Okay, gotcha.
This is a completely different script.
And do you know...
And Randall is, Jeff Anderson is definitely playing Randall.
Yeah, now, did you know much about the original script of Clerks 3? And do you feel that this one is a better story than the original one that he wrote?
I wouldn't be able to comment at all because although I was invited to read that original Clerks 3 script at the live theater show he did a couple of summers ago, due to a family commitment, I couldn't go down there. So I've never read that script. I think that script might be available online, but it was a very different story. It wasn't. It was kind of more serious. It wasn't as comic, and it was a very different tone. That I know. I don't know much else about it, to be honest with you. I just know what this most recent Clerks 3 is supposed to be based on.
Well, it's funny though. Clerks, the first Clerks and the second Clerks was, you can obviously tell there was more money involved. And then I knew the back history about how he ran up all his credit cards to do the movie, and it was challenging. He had to work on a specific time. But it was a magical thing. I mean, it was funny. It was kind of like, almost at times like dry sense of humor, like you never knew when the next thing was going to come in. It was just really, really funny. And I love the quote saying, just because they serve you doesn't mean they like you. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, isn't that great?
And it's so true because you go to a restaurant and you think your waiter likes you. They're in the back room saying, "Who is this fucking idiot I'm serving?" Yeah,
that's even worse. That's even worse for people who have to work either at, say, a convenience store or a liquor store or the dollar store or places where you get a large cross section of the public because the public can be real assholes.
And that's my point, is that I could totally relate to how they were feeling, like they were dead-end jobs, and it was expressed a lot in Clerks too. That like one of the characters, was his name Jason Lee or something like, what was his name, Jason, the guy who was
Jason Lee.
He was like, oh my God, 10 years and you're still flipping burgers, and kind of really putting them down for still not trying to advance in their careers because of their comfort zone. But I would absolutely love to be able to see you to revise your character back, and it would be so easy to do that. I mean, it doesn't matter at what level. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who knows?
Well, here, knowing what we know about the story, if it's going to be the same character, it either has to be a revisiting the actual thing that happens in the store, so that he could write about it and put it in the movie, or it could be they're about to shoot the movie and we see actors auditioning, and I think it would be very cool if that's what it was. But I don't really know. Number one, it's not 100% I'm going to be in it. They have reached out to me and I have been asked, but nothing's concrete.
Wow.
It's cameos.
Well,
but,
it would be great. It would be great though if you were in the film to any capacity, like, oh my God, there's Julie's gum guy. But now, correct me if I'm mistaken. Did you do a cameo in the reboot movie?
Yeah, we all did. At the very end of the reboot movie, when Jay and Bob are running around the convention, they run into a Clerks. We're playing ourselves. It's a Clerks panel.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because I was trying to look. Now, was Marilyn also in there? She was in there as
We
well.
all were, yeah. We were all on that panel.
Yeah.
Me, well, not everybody except Jeff Anderson. It was me, Brian. I guess you haven't seen it. I guess.
Yeah.
At the end of the reboot, Jay and Bob. The end of the reboot, all the action takes place at a convention. And Jay and Bob are running around the convention, and they're busting into different panels.
Right.
And they break into a comic book men panel. They break into the Clerks panel.
Right.
And it's a Clerks panel with us on the panel.
Right. You know, I watched. I was super excited about it when it came out, and I know that Kevin was on the road with Jay, and they were. I don't know how the hell this man had that amount of energy, especially when, from recovering from the heart attack. I mean, he was on the road for like, I don't know how many days. And
like 9 months. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And then and that's the thing about it. So, I mean, and he had a heart attack, and look at you. I mean, so with determination of taking better care of yourself, though, I mean, this is like a second coming for you. This is like another rebirth for you. You know what I'm saying? From recovering from everything that you've done, everything you've experienced in your life, though, and now you're very set and you're very focused on your career. But I would absolutely love to see your participation. I think I might have mentioned this to you before, though. You couldn't take your character and do a spinoff. No, that ain't gonna happen, huh? That would be cool, though.
No, I would never do that without Kevin's absolute blessing, number one.
Yeah, right.
Number two, I probably couldn't do that, not only with Kevin's blessing, but some of those characters are owned by Disney. And like Disney owns the rights to, I think Disney owns the rights to Clerks, because Miramax was sold to Disney. But Kevin maintained the rights to Jay and Bob.
Smart.
So a lot of it gets a little murky.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate, like you said. I mean, even though I had my bad health and I had my alcohol and drug addiction, I still worked and did other movies all throughout that. Granted, nothing ever came close to being as widely received and recognized as Clerks, but I've worked with a lot of name actors over the years in indie films, many that you could find now on Amazon and YouTube, and they were on DVD.
Yeah.
Michael DiLorenzo, who I personally admired and watched him growing up. He's been in the business forever. I did a mobster comedy with him. And,
wow.
So, and then we got to do a lot of cameos in different Kevin projects. We were on the Comic Book Men one night.
Yeah, that's right. And I actually you actually sent me that DVD of that movie where you played a detective. What was that movie called again? Linger. Yeah, that was, I liked it. You see, I think that you have a very distinctive style of acting, and you know what? Your acting isn't the kind of acting where you can only play one role. Where you're forever going to be the Chuli's gum guy. You're able to change characters, and some people don't know how to go out of character. You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen. I really appreciate that. That's very kind. I grew up from as long as I can remember. The only thing that mattered to me was music.
Right.
And film acting.
Right.
I've loved it since I was a child, and I pursued it from a young age. And then in my 20s, I cooled off with the acting. I did mostly music.
Right.
But by the end of my 30s, I went back to the acting full force, and I got very fortunate to have seen that audition notice.
Right.
And to have been picked by Kevin to play that role, because it was a character actor's dream role.
Absolutely.
It's designed to stand out.
Now, here's a question. Did you keep that newspaper clipping?
Oh, I do. I have it, and it's on my Facebook.
Oh, really? Wow. And you know what's funny?
Yeah, the audition notice.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Talking about some of the cast members real quick with Clerks, I had been communicating for a while with Lisa. And, we chatted on Facebook. She was supposed to call me. Something happened. And, all I can tell you is that Kevin was her angel. And Kevin really, if it wasn't for Kevin, I don't know what would have happened. I mean, she was, beautiful woman. She was a very talented actress, though. But she didn't, it looks like she kind of gave up on acting. I don't think that she maybe she found that it was disheartening for her. I think that she got shot down and whatever. And she had told me that, though. But she enjoyed motherhood. But she told me that Kevin was so supportive and he helped her out financially with her medical bills and stuff. So when she passed away, I was shocked because I was supposed to talk to her on the phone. She was very, very nice. Anybody who's from Jersey, my father's from North Jersey as well. He passed away a month ago, and he was from...
sorry.
Yeah, he was from... he was born in Englewood, New Jersey, raised in Fairview.
Oh, yeah, Englewood's not far from where I run around. I have two homes with my wife, my partner.
Right.
There's a home in River Edge and there's a home in Saddlebrook area, Bergen County. I know
Bergen
the area.
County. Yeah,
I'm not far from England.
Yeah, you and I are both, paisans and Italian. Yeah, my uncle Ronnie was from River Edge too, and my father, my father had a fall, and I went to pick him up. He was up in the Poconos, up in around Lehigh Valley.
Oh gosh!
And
And what did he have a hemorrhage or something?
No, he fell down, and then I didn't want to see him in the hospital, and I took him back to Vegas, and he was getting better. Then he had a stroke, and I think he never fully recovered from the stroke. Though he wasn't going to be the same guy, and so many people love my father because they loved my father's music in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and I think that he came to terms with that he was not going to get better. And to be quite honest with you, though, when you can't live the kind of life you want to live because of illnesses, though, it's really... it's a very unpleasurable life.
I get what you're driving at. I get what you're driving at.
It's sad.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. It really is, though. And it's just funny how you mentioned, that you were from North Jersey and stuff. But, I tell you, do you ever now? Let's just real quickly here. I know you're running short on time. Can you tell us about what you're doing now? Are you going to be appearing any more like conventions, or how can people get a hold of you? Or you want to fill us in a little bit on that?
Yeah, ultimately on social media, I'm very active.
Yeah.
With Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but Facebook more so. But I'm easy to find on all those places.
Right.
Just like a Google search of my name will give you way more than you really will need.
Right.
And my website gives you all the links to things that are pertinent for me. My IMDb.
Yeah.
I worked on a few films during COVID, and a number of them came out on Amazon Prime, and Wits End is one of them with David Madison, and Darkness Waits with Libby McDermott and Matt Stolley, who are a husband and wife directing team, sort of. It was a thriller, which I really enjoyed being a part of that cast. It's a very well-crafted indie horror film. It's got a lot of mood, but I did the Audible book over quarantine, and I'm very fortunate to keep working on indie film, whether I'm an actor or whether I'm doing music for the films.
Right.
I still keep going at it, and I just feel blessed. So it's easy to find out there. Yeah. I encourage people to reach out.
Yeah. I know you do work the circuits of the conventions. Is there any convention that you're going to be attending to, not virtually but physically? Anytime?
Yeah, there is. In July, I believe it's the 24th, but I don't know the date because it was rescheduled from May, actually.
Yes.
It was the Big Apple Comic Con.
Okay.
Brian and I and David Madison are going to be guests at Big Apple Comic Con. It's only a one-day con at the Pennsylvania Hotel in New York City.
Wow.
But that's the one that's in the real world that I will be part of this summer. Yeah. I took part in a lot of virtual ones, but now we're all making the switch from virtual back to the real world as we get a handle on COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And you, in fact, told me that you were at a convention in the green room with one of my other favorite actors. Of course, you're one of them, of course, is Mr. Bruce Campbell.
I love that guy. Who doesn't love Bruce Campbell, right?
Well, he's another iconic actor with these famous one-liners. Real quick, for anybody who loves Bruce Campbell, how was your experience with the time that you had with Bruce?
Well, what's nice is all actors, at least I believe this, all
Yeah.
actors and musicians, regardless of the amount of success they have or don't have,
Right.
we all are fans at heart.
Of
all
course.
of us are fans at heart.
Of course.
And, of course, he's one of the guys that I've watched for years.
Yeah.
And, I've followed his career because he kind of broke the mold for indie character actors.
That's right.
But what's nice is when I do get to meet these people, many of them, Henry Winkler was like this as well, because they're actors and we all understand the acting world,
Right.
there's sort of an unspoken camaraderie.
Right.
And Bruce Campbell was very warm and open to that.
Right.
He's aware of Kevin's movies and he's aware of Kevin's legacy, and he may be in the Mallrats sequel.
That's what I heard. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that was. The only problem, the hardest thing to I know we're going to wrap it up here, is that I feel that if you wait too long on a film, you lose that, that thing, that chutzpah, that little spice, that made it magical. I think that. Do you find that sometimes when you wait too long to make a part two, that it doesn't have that same, you know what I'm saying, the rawness, the excitement, the electricity?
Yeah, no, I know what you're grabbing at,
Yeah.
and I would say in many instances you're correct.
Yeah.
However, with Kevin, because his fan base is so loyal,
Yeah.
and they've stuck it out all these years,
Yeah.
and they've also, his fan base has gone on to turn on another generation of people onto him.
Of course, yeah.
You're not talking about it may, of course, it's not as big as the Marvel DC universe.
Yes.
But Kevin's universe has very loyal people.
Absolutely.
So because of that, he's able to, do the reboots and sequels.
Right.
And they become much more. They become what people started labeling as. And it's a fine line. You got to watch how you do this. It's like a fan service thing.
Right.
Because the people want it so badly, Kevin kind of does it more for them at heart.
Right.
But, I don't know. It's hard to say. Movies are changing. They've changed so much in the last 10 years alone. DVDs are fading. Movies in the theater are starting to fade.
Right.
And now everything is on demand, and everybody's got a big screen TV at home.
Right.
So I don't know. How movies are delivered is changing rapidly.
Right.
I saw in the music business.
Yeah.
MP3's pretty much killed.
Yeah. That's
CDs
true.
and LPs, even though some of that's coming back. So I don't know. Kevin's always managed to stay on the cutting edge of technology as well.
Right. Yeah, and it's sad that things are kind of slowly fading away, though. But, I'm sure that to some level he keeps things at times, maybe he'll try to at least, to keep some things kind of old school, because I don't agree that I don't like I understand that times change, people change, concepts change, whatever. But I really feel, though, that we need to keep the theaters. We need to keep the things that we're used to because that's our comfort. And when you take those comforts away for the convenience of being home, though, that's a part of our American history. That's a part of what we are. And if you take these things away, though, it's kind of like the world is becoming more and more boring.
Well, I really agree. I love technology, but at the same time, I don't like how a lot of things did.
Yeah.
So, I love the music business as it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s.
Right.
But it's completely changed now. Movies, I don't know if the theater will go away completely.
Right.
But you're right. The experience of seeing a movie
in the theaters
with a packed theater is a very different experience than watching it at home.
Oh, it's a thing, and the most important thing, though, is that we can't take away from the things of which people love. So many people say, "Well, I really miss going to the theater and seeing a good movie." I mean, yeah, you can watch it at home, though, but you're not going to get the same experience, though, because they're trying to make this. Ever since COVID hit, they've made all these weird kind of things, to reciprocate. I can understand for health reasons, but now things are starting to slowly get back to normal, though. I think we need to bring back the theater. We need to bring back things. And sometimes history repeats itself at times, though. And that's the thing about it. And talking about music, though, you are an extremely talented, how many instruments do you play, by the way? A bunch, right?
Yeah, I play guitar, keyboard, bass, harmonica.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, now, do you have any new
Well,
music?
thank you.
Do you have any new music coming out that you're working on?
Well, and a lot of the newest music as I go along the last few years is music that is being used for these indie films. I put a
Right.
CD out. There is a CD out there of my collected film music.
Right.
And it's a royalty-free CD. When you grab that CD, you could use that music in your movie or production. I just ask that you give a credit.
Yes,
but
of course.
it's royalty-free.
Yeah.
You buy the record, you could use that in your own project. A lot of the proceeds go to the Angels of Animals,
Right.
the animal charity I work with.
Very
but,
nice.
Yeah, I'm very blessed and fortunate. You know, I have a grassroots career. I have a very wonderful support group in my life. My
Right.
partner of many years is also a singer and actress and musician, and
Wow.
she's been by my side through thick and thin.
That's wonderful.
Carrie, I love you, sweetheart. If you hear this,
Oh, so
you know, it takes a village. You know, I think behind every person there's, you know, if you're lucky, there's a quality partner.
Yeah, and the people that are there for you, that have been there for you, thick and thin, though, you may think that the grass is greener, and you may try to step on the other side, but then you realize, you know what, this person has been there for me when my heart bled, when I was sad, when I was having anxiety, this, that. And that's the person that you really essentially need to be with, though, because they're good for you, good for your heart, good for your mind and soul, though. So my advice to you is whatever you got that's good for you, that's going to prolong things and make you stay healthy and happy, mentally, physically, then that's the person that you need to be with. And that's just the way it has to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
That was
and that's
very nicely put. Dude.
Yeah, it's a truth though, man. Because sometimes we think, the grass is always greener, but it may seem that way, but ultimately you got to be with somebody who really genuinely loves you, though, because in the end, you know, we all need love and stuff like that. And with that being said, Scott, I want to say that I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been tough getting you. You've been busy with stuff. And your stories are just great. I'm going to do my part to share this with people within my group and on YouTube and stuff like that. Though I will make sure and pass you over a link so that way you can, if you like what you hear, you can put it up on your feed and stuff like that. And any closing notes or anything else you'd like to throw out, anybody out there maybe listening, anything at all? Or are you good to go?
I just want to thank you.
Yeah,
I had a very nice time talking with you. And yes, keep me posted. I will,
Scott.
I will keep it
Yeah.
posted.
Now,
and,
And do you ever come to Las Vegas ever, or not too often?
I actually have not been out on the West Coast much at all in my entire life,
Wow.
which was always a bummer. But you never know what the future will bring.
You don't know.
I've been to, I did a lot of traveling with the conventions. I've been to Texas a number of times, and I really enjoy that state.
Yeah, that's weird.
But, we never know. I mean, I'm open to it, and, an offer could come in. I can end up going somewhere for a week or two to work, and I'm open to it, but no, I haven't spent much time out there.
Yeah, you know what's really funny, and this is the closing note here. I don't know why, but, you think, they would make it a priority to have these conventions in Vegas, because Vegas is the most highly visited state in the world. It is the entertainment capital of the world. I'm surprised you haven't come here through your agency, or Bruce Campbell, or Marilyn, or any of the things or even, I think maybe Kevin came here, but I'm surprised they haven't put that on the roster. That's kind of weird.
No, you're right. I always wondered why there weren't more film and music and pop culture conventions in Vegas itself.
I know, it's weird. It's just like, you guys are always going to these different places. Like, wow, you should be coming to Vegas, where there's so much more there's such a huge demand. We love you guys just as much as the other states do, but there hasn't been a lot of conventions for whatever, But well, that's
I know.
It's something that you can probably share. Hey, why don't you? Let's bring this thing to Vegas. That's the thing about it. But Scott, listen, Paisan, thank you so very much. I know you got stuff to do though. You got to munge, and I'll be in touch with you, Scott. And listen, man, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the wonderful Scott Schiaffo here on Intergalactic Radio. Thank you so much, Scott. You have a blessed day. Stay happy and healthy. Much love. This is Giovanni Stico signing out with Intergalactic Radio. Thank you, Scott.
You got it.
Okay, God bless you, man.
Well, this concludes our 1 hour special. Tune in next time for some more adventures. Only on Intergalactic Radio. Stay safe and look up to the sky. You might just see something.